Okay, in this video we will be finishing this section 8.1, and this is going to be strictly about the graphing portion. So go ahead and flip to the back side of this. And then we'll graph it. Okay, now these have a lot of steps, but the math's pretty straightforward. It's just about memorizing everything to do. And I have a very strict process that I like to follow because it will make our lives a lot easier. So the first thing we want to do is build our T-chart. But to build our T-chart, we need to build it correctly. So what I take is so the first thing I'm going to do is set radicand equal to 0, 1, 4, 9, and solve for x. By doing this, you will get these perfect x values to plug in to finish our T-chart up. So let me do that. So first I'm going to part 1 is set my radicand equal to these values. So remember my radicand right here is just x. This one's very straightforward. So I'll go x equals 0. I'm done now. I have solved for x. X equals 1, x equals 4, x equals 9. So these are my perfect x values to plug in right there. Now our part 2 will be plug in x to find y. So all that means is we're going to finish this T-chart up. So I'll plug in my x values and then I'll find my y values. So I'll say y is equal to the square root of 0 equals 0. So when I plug in 0, I get 0. And then we're just going to go down our x value lines, doing this for each one. Y equals the square root of 1 equals 1. Y equals the square root of 4. Now what number times itself equals 4? Well, that's going to be 2. And then we'll do y equals the square root of 9 is 3. Now we have our x's and y's to plot. Here's our x column. The f of x is always our y column. And we plot them. I have 0, 0. Then I have 1, 1. Just plotting these points. Then I go to 4, 2. And then if our graph was big enough, we would graph this as 9, 3. It's 4, 5, 6, 7. So we'll go out here. And we'll just put it somewhere kind of like that. And we'll do so. Like that. Okay, so number 11 will be a great example and to see why I did this part 1. Because it seems like kind of useless on this one, but when we go through number 11, you'll really see why I did this part 1. So part 1 is I take this radicand, take the radicand right like that, and I'm going to set it equal to my 4 special values, 0, 1, 4, and 9. So I'm going to take that x minus 2, go equals 0. X minus 2 equals 1. X minus 2 equals equals 4. X minus 2 equals 9. Now when I'm solving for these, we just add 2 to both sides, and I get x equals 2. So there's my first value to plug in. Then I add 2 to both sides for this one, and I get x equals 3. So there's my 3. This one implies that x is going to equal 6, so there's my 6. And this one tells me that x equals 11, so there's my 11. So now I've built and it would be just so tough to randomly pick these four numbers. But these four numbers will make, when I plug them in, my life so much easier. So what we'll do is we'll plug them in. So I have y is equal to the square root of 2 minus 2. So y is equal to the square root of 0, which equals 0. So I got that one. Now I'll have y is equal to the square root of 3 minus 2. Plugging in the 3 for x, which is y is equal to the square root of 1, which equals 1. So I have that value. And so are we seeing how by finding these perfect numbers, what it makes it happen is I get perfect square roots. Square root of 0 is 0. Square root of 1 is 1. So let's look at the other ones. If I plug in y, if I'm plugging in 6, y equals the square root of 6 minus 2. Y equals the square root of 4, which is equal to 2. So I'm getting these perfect square roots by having these perfect x's to plug in. And that's the whole reason in this part 1. Is it really makes it so that my life is essentially easier, because finding the square root of 5 is not fun. But finding the square root of, say, 11 minus 2 is the square root of 9, much easier. Square root of 9 is 3. And now I have plottable points. And so we'll plot them. So I'll go x is 2, comma 0, 3, 1, 6, comma 2, so that'd be kind of off the grid. And 11's going to be way out here, so just kind of put it like that. So I can't stress enough this idea of doing this part 1 first to really help you pick these perfect x values that we put into our t-chart and then solve for using. So I'm going to stop right there. I think this is hopefully enough examples for us to get through. If we need to add more, we'll add more. But thank you for watching this video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.